What will motivate people to take the mark of the Antichrist? In our previous video, we saw that people take the mark because they'll be killed if they don't. In this video, we'll see they have a positive motivation to buy and sell in the Babylon economy. I'm George Farrar, founder of End Times Guide. This is the third short video in our 5-video course, Current Trends Anticipating Great Tribulation. We see one current trend that is leading to the Great Tribulation, but which many unbelievers will think is leading to a great celebration. This is the trend of increasing public immorality, celebrating all kinds of different sects and all kinds of other immorality, greed, envy, and selfish ambition, which James 3:16 says produces disorder in every evil practice. This video is called Babylon Economy Lures Men to Take the Mark. During the Great Tribulation, people will have to take the mark in order to buy and sell. Revelation 13:16-17. But they buy into an economy which is attractive, rich, luxurious, sexy, intoxicating. It's called Babylon the Great, quote, with whom the kings of the earth committed acts of immorality, and those who dwell on the earth were made drunk with the wine of her immorality. Revelation 17:2. If they only knew what was in that wine that's so intoxicating, they might hesitate. But you may know how it is when you're at a party, you want to be friendly, go along with the crowd, people are getting high and drunk, they offer you a drink, you usually won't ask what's in it. At least that's how my party life used to be before I came to the Lord. I went to parties to make friends, to find girls, to make contacts, to hopefully find a better paying job. Most people get jobs through personal contacts. A better paying job can bring you more material things. And the Babylon economy entices you with all kinds of material things. Revelation 18 has such a long list of alluring things that I don't have time to read them all. But they include gold, precious stones, fine clothing, vehicles, expensive artwork. It's an economy offering so much wealth and beauty that when the Antichrist kingdom is shaken and begins to fall, people weep and wail, not for the Antichrist, whom they're supposed to be worshiping, nor for the kings under the Antichrist, whom they're supposed to be obeying. No, they are weeping and wailing and mourning for the Babylon economy, especially the merchants who became rich through her. They say, quote, "Woe, woe, the great city, she who was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet, and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour such great wealth has been laid waste." Revelation 18:15-16. It's like people today wailing over the great U.S. economy, fearing that 2 months of lockdown will lay it waste. But this Babylon economy falls completely in one day. Why? Because the kings of the earth became envious that people love the economy more than them. The people love the economy so much that they won't want to leave it to go fight for the kings when the kings go to war against Christ at his second coming. Revelation 17:14. These will wage war against the Lamb, and the Lamb will overcome them, because he is Lord of lords and King of kings. But the Babylon economy has become so powerful that it, quote, reigns over the kings of the earth. Revelation 17:18. The Babylon economy has more power than the Antichrist. The economy, called Babylon the Great, the harlot, rules over the kings of the earth. So the kings decide to destroy the economy. Verse 16 says that the kings and the Antichrist himself, quote, will hate the harlot and burn her up with fire, unquote. Then they will muster the people to Armageddon to war against the second coming of Christ. But the people have been drunk on the wine of Babylon. So have the kings. What was in that wine that they drank at the parties without asking what was in it? What was in that wine? Revelation 17:4. It was, quote, a gold cup full of abominations and of the unclean things of her immorality, unquote. This is what the people and the kings were drunk on. Certainly, with all that immorality going on, people will be getting literally drunk, but they will also be getting spiritually drunk on abominations like homosexuality, incest, bestiality, a long list of things that the Canaanites did that God calls abominations in Leviticus 18:6-30. When people call these evils good, it makes them kind of crazy. Do you notice the frenzy that drives many homosexual activists to rail at Christians so much? Romans 1:26 and 28 says it's, quote, a depraved mind that approves of degrading passions, unquote, like these. That's what this kind of spiritual drunkenness produces, especially at wild parties, orgies. What kind of drugs do they take there? Revelation 18:23 says of Babylon that, quote, all the nations were deceived by your sorcery, unquote. The word for sorcery is pharmakeia, from which we get pharma, pharmacies, big pharma. Pharmakeia can mean drug use, poison, sorcery, and the use of magical remedies. They're interrelated. Drugs can be made by sorcerers who can mix in evil spiritual influences. Drugs can open you up to all kinds of deception. That's why Revelation 18:23 says of Babylon that, quote, all the nations were deceived by your sorcery, your pharmakeia. Doesn't this sound familiar already? The more technology we develop, the more drugs to enjoy sex, the more date rape drugs, the more abortion drugs, the more drugs to change your sex, the more drug dependency. For many people, drugs are the solution to not only physical problems, but emotional problems, sexual and mental problems. This current trend toward taking more and more drugs for more and more conditions will only continue as the time of the Antichrist approaches. But it will become more and more expensive. People with drug habits will want to take the mark because they want to buy and sell drugs. But what if they can't afford it? People will be losing their jobs as more birth pangs hit the earth. More viruses, more famines, more plagues. Jesus said these are, quote, merely the beginning of birth pangs, Matthew 24:8. And more birth pangs, more shakings will come, causing more unemployment and more poverty, which will bring another trend that we will address in the next video, more slavery. We see slavery in the time of the Antichrist in Revelation chapters 13, 18, and 19. Slavery is part of the Babylon economy. But we already see slavery increasing worldwide in the human trafficking and sex trafficking trades. And slavery will continue to increase until the Antichrist is revealed. Our next video in this course is called Slavery Increases Worldwide as Antichrist Rule Approaches. But let me add, we don't have to go the way of the world into dependency and slavery. God has a way out for everyone who seeks Him. If you have a drug dependency, a harmful sex dependency, or any materialistic dependency, He is faithful to provide a way out. 1 Corinthians 10-13. In fact, in Revelation 18:4, God says to people in the Babylon economy, come out of her, my people, so that you will not participate in her sins and receive of her plagues. So open yourself up to Jesus and to his forgiveness, his all-powerful influence, his Holy Spirit, his dependable word, and the truth will set you free from your dependencies. Thanks for joining us in this session. For the next session, please read Revelation 13:11-18. Read it as an overcomer and never give up your freedom.